Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this Advanced Manufacturing Summit. My name is Clinton Perry, and it's my pleasure to be your host today as we take a look at what's new in Autodesk CAM software. So let's just take a quick run through the agenda for the time that we're together today. We're going to spend a couple of minutes just briefly introducing you to myself and some of the other speakers that you'll hear from throughout this class. We'll then dig right into the details of what's new in the latest release of our PowerMill CAM software. We'll then remind you about some important licensing changes that we're rolling out here that will affect you if you are a user of PowerMill, PowerShape, or PowerInspect. We'll then change tack slightly and focus on what's new in Fusion 360, specifically for CAM use. We'll also reveal a little bit about what's coming for Fusion 360 for you if you're a CAM programmer. So this should be particularly interesting for you. We'll then finish, if we got time, with a bit of a reminder on our vision for Autodesk CAM software solutions so that you've got a bit more clarity in terms of where we're heading with our CAM solutions. And then obviously there will be time at the end of this session for a live Q&A period as well. And with that in mind, I would just remind you to use the Q&A functionality within this webinar platform for you to submit your text-based questions to myself, and we will get to those questions at the end of this session. One final piece of housekeeping I would mention is that this session is being recorded, so you will be able to watch it on catch-up after the session is finished, or maybe even share it with some of your friends and colleagues so they can learn about what's new in Autodesk CAM software too. Okay, so a quick introduction then. As I say, my name is Clinton Perry. I've been working with Autodesk for nigh on 25 years now. I've held various different positions within the company. I was part of the Delcam team that was acquired a few years back. All of my positions have been technical, so I've worked in sales, I've worked as a principal consultant within our professional services group for a good number of years where we focused on developing turnkey manufacturing solutions for big customers in the aerospace sector, automotive, and many others. So I've got a real passion for the Autodesk manufacturing software suite, specifically PowerMill. And my current role is I'm a marketing manager. So I've got the responsibilities for marketing, not just PowerMill, but PowerShape, PowerInspect, Fusion 360, and many others. So that's enough about me. I'm also joined today by two of my colleagues in the US, so Marty Deans and Kaching Song. Marty and Kaching are really here to help me answer some of your questions at the end of this session. So you won't hear from them during the presentation, but they will be contributing throughout the session. Marty is one of our technical marketing specialists, a seriously skilled and very capable mechanical engineer that has a vast wealth of experience of using the Fusion 360 product in a wide range of different manufacturing applications. So if you've ever seen marketing content that we've produced to talk about new functionality in Fusion 360, you've almost certainly been watching some of Marty's great work. So it's a pleasure to have Marty here, and our expertise is really, really welcome. As I say, I'm also joined by Kaching Song. Kaching is our community manager for Autodesk Fusion 360. So you will struggle to find a more passionate ambassador for the Fusion 360 product. Kaching straddles that gap, if you like, between the Autodesk team that develop and sell the Autodesk products, Fusion 360 in particular, as well as the community of users, you guys. And so you'll see that Kaching is frequently online, contributing blog content and engaging with customers and prospects to really get to learn more about what it is that you need Fusion 360 to do today and in the future. So it really is a great pleasure to have both Marty and Kaching joining me today. And should you want to connect with us after this session, please feel free to do so using the LinkedIn connections that you see at the bottom of this slide. Okay, so let's move on. Now, throughout the course of this presentation, I will be talking about ongoing development work within both PowerMill and Fusion 360. And as a result of that, I need to display this safe harbor statement. It's nothing for you to worry about. It's just literally saying that whilst we may be talking about future capabilities, that isn't necessarily a commitment that we'll be delivering that technology in a specific release or in a specific date. So I'm really trying to give you an idea of where we're heading. I can't commit to guaranteeing when this functionality will be released to you, but we'll be making that clear as we go through the presentation. Okay, so let's crack on by talking about the latest release of PowerMill. So what's new in Autodesk PowerMill 2021? Well, PowerMill 2021 was released on the 13th of May 2020, so a good couple of months back. So I'm hoping that most of you on this call, if you're a PowerMill user, you will already have downloaded and be using this particular release. So it's fantastic. I really hope that you're doing that. So if you've got an active subscription or an active maintenance agreement, you're entitled to download and install this release by visiting manage.autodesk.com. And continuing the theme of recent releases of PowerMill, our focus really has remained on improving three key pillars, if you like, of PowerMill's strengths. That's being the speed or performance of PowerMill, its usability, quality, if you like, of its toolpaths, and its overall reliability. So that's your overall user experience. So let's dig into some of those speed improvements and see how they're impacting the times it takes to calculate toolpaths and so on. Now, as I say, continuing on the focus of PowerMill performance, the 2021.0 release includes multiple speed ups to toolpath calculation times. These enhancements affect many of the commonly used toolpath types. So this is things like area clearance, rest area clearance, roughing, if you like, raster finishing, corner finishing, constant Z finishing, 3D offset, steep and shallow, and many other strategies. Many other commonly used commands have also been sped up. So things like stock model boundaries, the time taken to open projects, that model filleting functionality that we added a couple of releases back, as well as the 5-axis collision checking and 5-axis collision avoidance functionality that we've added recently. So let's take a deeper dive into some of the performance gains that we're seeing. Now, this particular slide summarizes the speed up that we're seeing between PowerMill 2021 and PowerMill 2020, so the previous release. And it shows those speed ups on some of those commonly used commands. So area clearance and rest area clearance. Now, our tests, and indeed the tests of many of our customers that are actively using this version of PowerMill now, show that this particular area of the code is around 25 to 30% faster in 2021 than it was in 2020. Fantastic. It's a huge performance gain. If we look at our finishing strategies, so raster finishing, 3D offset finishing, steep and shallow, and others, we're typically seeing a speed up of around about 5 to 10%. So not quite so big, but still a speed up, and that's fantastic too. If you use stock models to calculate boundaries to limit your rest machining, then you'll be pleased to hear that this area of our code has also been improved by around about 20% typically. I mentioned project opening times, specifically projects that contain lots of hole features for drilling. You'll notice a typical speed performance gain there of around about 50%. So those large projects are going to be opening up 50% faster in this release than the previous release. And then finally, our collision checking and collision avoidance functionality has also been sped up by typically around 20%. Although feedback from our customers, particularly our beta customers that had access to this functionality before it was released to the general public, have reported even bigger performance gains, often as much as 65%. So you can see that we've really focused on making PowerMill faster, and that's fantastic. Okay, so I just want to take a closer look at some of those items again. And we're going to look at the improved calculation times for area clearance. Now, this chart compares calculation times across multiple releases of PowerMill. The numbers all relate to the same test on the same PC. Note that in this case, PowerMill 2021 is considerably faster than 2020, so it's 23% faster. It's 17% faster than 2019. It's 29% faster than PowerMill 2018. It's also 4 and 7% faster than PowerMill 2017 and 2016. Now, you might be asking, why have I gone back so far? Why are we even considering PowerMill 2016? That's 5-6 years ago. Well, the reason is simple. There is still a minority of our customers out there, so you guys, who feel that PowerMill 2016 is the benchmark, the fastest, best release of PowerMill in recent years. Now, I'm here to dispel that theory because actually PowerMill 2021, generally speaking, is faster than all of those releases that we've just talked about. Now, I wanted to explain why there was a changing speed between 2017 and 2018 and explain why this is important. So when we released PowerMill 2018, we included a whole load of qualitative improvements to PowerMill to improve the quality of toolpaths, so avoiding crashes, collisions, gouges, improving the quality of surface finish, and so on. And each of those additional qualitative improvements carried with it a processing overhead, time. And that's why PowerMill 2018 was slower than PowerMill 2016 and 17. Now, what you'll notice with the release of PowerMill 2021 is that we've continued to work on speed, so it is now as fast, if not faster than 2016, and yet it still has all of those quality improvements. So you've got the best of both worlds, better quality toolpaths and faster. Let's look at a similar chart for a different area of PowerMill's code. So this is the time taken to calculate a stock model boundary. Again, you'll see a similar pattern here. The time taken to calculate these particular boundaries in PowerMill 2021, well, it's 400 seconds, and that's 24% faster than 2020, 32% faster than 29, and a whopping 59% faster than 2018. And you can see a similar trend going right the way back to 2016. So again, great examples of PowerMill 2021 being faster than previous releases. Model filleting in PowerMill, that was something that we introduced a couple of years back. In fact, it was PowerMill 2020. And this is functionality that we took from the broader family of Autodesk CAM products. And what this does is it automatically adds fillets to the internal corners of your CAD models. And it does that during the calculation of toolpaths. And this additional geometry is then used to prevent cutting tools from engaging into those sharp corners, which could result in spikes in tool load, which could obviously create problems of surface finish. It could shorten tool life and ultimately result in tool breakages. Well, this model filleting functionality, when it was introduced, had a huge impact on not just the quality of toolpaths and their safety, but you were also able to run those toolpaths faster because you could run at a constant feed rate, knowing there'd be no spikes in tool load. Now, with the release of PowerMill 2021, we include two major improvements. The first one is speed, and that is that the model filleting functionality is just generally 20% faster because the algorithms have been improved. But we've also updated this code so that it respects the state of any active boundaries. So if you're working on a very large mold and you've got a boundary for a very small feature, whereas in PowerMill 2020, it would have ignored that boundary and created fillets for the whole model. In 2021, it limits the calculation to just the boundary area. So that's potentially saving you huge amounts of time, maybe up to 90% on large parts. So you can see that there's some significant performance gains here, but we've also improved the choice within the model filleting functionality so that this strategy is now available for a broader range, in fact, all 3-axis machining strategies that PowerMill offers. Still on the subject of speed, looking at the time taken to open projects, specifically projects with large numbers of hole features, we can see a similar pattern. PowerMill 2021 is significantly faster than the previous releases. So it's around about 18, 19% faster than the previous 4 releases. But note that we've still got work to do. PowerMill 2021 is still a little bit slower than PowerMill 2016. Don't forget, it's doing a better job, but it is a little bit slower. And so that's an important point. We continue to work on PowerMill. Development has not stopped. We continue to improve the functionality so that we can make it the best, fastest, best quality CAM software to meet your needs every day. Still on the subject of speed, I mentioned collision avoidance and collision checking earlier on. This is something that really is a big differentiator for PowerMill when compared with other CAM products. Now, automatic collision checking, as the name suggests, allows you to collision check a toolpath after it has been calculated to find collisions and delete them, leaving your toolpath with holes where those hazardous areas of toolpath have been removed. Collision avoidance goes a little bit further, identifies those collisions during the toolpath calculation and avoids them by tilting the 4th and 5th axes of your machine tool to avoid those collisions from occurring. Now, both collision checking and collision avoidance have been sped up with the release of PowerMill 2021, typically by 20%. But as I mentioned earlier on, some of our beta testers have reported up to 65% performance gains. Now, what's interesting here is that these algorithms that have been improved are used in a number of different areas within the PowerMill product. So if you use the project verification commands to verify the entire contents of your PowerMill project, you will also see huge performance gains. But it's not just about outright speed. We know that speed is important, but there's more to PowerMill than just doing stuff quick. And so we've continued to focus on improving the overall quality of PowerMill's algorithms to have a positive impact on its reliability and overall usability too. And so continuing to talk about collision avoidance, as well as those speed ups we've just talked about, PowerMill 2021 also sees some improvements in the quality of the collision avoidance code. So it now finds and avoids collisions that it may not have been able to avoid previously. So in previous releases, it would have found those collisions and just removed them, leaving a gap in your toolpath. In this release, those gaps aren't there. Instead, we avoid them with higher quality, safer, smoother 5-axis motion of your machine tool. You'll also notice that the toolpaths themselves include more points in these transitionary zones, and that results in improved toolpath machine motion, smoother motion. You'll also notice that the machine motion tends to be more 3+2 as opposed to continuous 5-axis. Now, all of that collectively combines to give you an improved machine motion, improved surface finish, shorter cycle times, less need for manual polishing, just a better end result in terms of your machined parts. Still on the subject of reliability and talking specifically about steep and shallow machining, if you've ever used steep and shallow machining with collision check surfaces, you may have experienced situations where toolpaths fragment when the toolpath gets close to those check surfaces. And you can see an example of that here in these images. This is a male upstand on a 3D mold. You can see the grey surfaces are being machined, but the yellow surface on the top of the part is a check surface. Don't machine it. Look carefully at the PowerMill 2020 image and you'll see some localized fragmentation in that toolpath. Those fragmentations would compromise the surface finish, result in air cutting, increased cycle time, lots of other bad things. With the release of PowerMill 2021, these issues have been fixed, resulting in a better quality machine part, shorter cycle times, and hopefully happier PowerMill programmers. On the subject of usability, if you're using PowerMill's additive manufacturing capabilities, specifically the directed energy deposition or DED strategies, you'll be pleased to hear that we've improved these areas too by including a new alternating raster angle option in those appropriate DED strategies. Instead of me trying to explain it with words, let's look at the images that are on screen here. You can see the images at the top show the existing angular controls that you've got inside PowerMill. It's just an angle that rotates by a fixed amount with each progressive Z slice. This new update provides you with the option to define 2 angular values, and PowerMill will alternate between those angles with each progressive Z slice. So you'll see the angle changes from angle A to angle B to angle A and so on to allow you to deposit your 3D forms. Now, the goal here is to give you greater control, but it will also allow you to create parts with an increased structural integrity, which hopefully results in better, stronger products that you're producing. Now, there are a whole wealth of other improvements that we've seen go into PowerMill 2021. I don't have time to cover them all, but I have picked out a few of my personal favourites. The first one is the ability for you to control the amount of PC cores that PowerMill is using when it's calculating data. Now, prior to this change, PowerMill would consume all of the available cores that it possibly can. And that's great if you're just using PowerMill on your PC. But it stops your PC from doing anything else. So you can't use your email, you can't surf the web, anything, nothing else. Well, with this change, you're now able to issue a typed command that will allow you to control how many of your cores you want to use. So you could maybe preserve one of the cores to allow you to do those emails and web publishing type activities. So this is a great improvement, hopefully really helping you with your day-to-day user experience of the PowerMill product. We've also made PowerMill's graphical user interface more robust, and we've done that by using some of the automatically generated customer error reports that get produced by you guys when you're actually using PowerMill yourselves. So we've taken all of those automatically generated reports, we've identified the top 4 or 5 GUI issues that cause the program to be unstable, and we fixed them. And the net effect is that PowerMill 2021 is a far more stable, reliable, usable product. A couple of other highlights to pick out. We've improved the stability of our optimized constant Z toolpaths, that you'll see that the program produces better quality toolpaths more reliably, with fewer instances where PowerMill becomes unstable, requiring you to restart the software. We've also improved the reliability of our unsafe segment removal tools. So that results in PowerMill removing unsafe segments only and not accidentally or inadvertently removing safe segments. So again, quality of life, quality of toolpaths has been much improved. We've also improved the reliability of our 2D cutter compensation capabilities with NC programs, outputting safer, more reliable toolpaths, as well as more than 90 other individual issues that we've identified and fixed in the 2021 release. So in summary, PowerMill 2021 is faster, it's safer, and it's better than pretty much all of the previous releases that we've seen in recent years. Now, if you'd like to learn more about PowerMill 2021, or maybe you want to download it and access it yourself, then you can use the data that's on screen now to achieve that. So you can learn more by watching various online videos. So you can use the online help site, just run PowerMill 2021 and click the F1 key. You can watch an on-demand webinar where I dig into a lot more detail about these improvements, or you can go onto YouTube and search for PowerMill 2021 to access a whole load of technical tutorials to learn more about these improvements. If you haven't already downloaded PowerMill 2021, and our analytics show that there's a small minority of you out there who haven't, then I would really recommend that you access the 2021 release using your Autodesk account. Either use the Autodesk desktop app or visit manage.autodesk.com, log in, download the software, install it, and you'll also start to benefit from these speed improvements that we've just been talking about. Okay, so while we're still talking about PowerMill, I wanted to remind you of the announcement that Srinath made in the CAM keynote presentation earlier in the Advanced Manufacturing Summit. And this is specifically announcing important changes that affect licensing of PowerMill, PowerShape, and PowerInspect. Now, to help create more awareness of the benefits that Fusion 360 offers our customers, we're making some important changes to how PowerMill is accessed. Now, these updates ensure you can continue to use PowerMill as a standalone CAM product today, whilst making it easier for you to access our new and exciting technology that's delivered through the Fusion 360 platform. And so with this in mind, we're repackaging PowerMill under the Fusion 360 family and introducing two new types of Fusion 360 subscription that include PowerMill functionality. These being Autodesk Fusion 360 with PowerMill Standard and Autodesk Fusion 360 with PowerMill Ultimate. Now, the key thing to note here is that you can continue to access PowerMill as standalone CAM software today. So nothing has changed here. You still have access to PowerMill. The changes mean that you'll receive access to additional technology within the Fusion 360 family of products. Now, while this presentation is focused on PowerMill subscribers, it's worth noting that similar changes are happening for PowerShape and PowerInspect customers too. So if you're subscribing to these products, you'll see similar changes. And by now, your company should have received one or more emails from Autodesk with more details about the changes and how they impact you. I wanted to go into a little bit more detail here, just so that you have a bit of an overview, not great levels of detail. Let's take a closer look at what these two new Fusion 360 subscriptions include in terms of the technology. Now, the first, Fusion 360 with PowerMill Standard, includes PowerMill Standard, obviously, but it also includes Fusion 360, so that core capabilities that Fusion offers, so solid and surface modeling, assembly modeling, rendering, ECAD, CAM capabilities, better cloud-based collaboration tools, and so much more. But it also includes a new machining extension, which offers you even more advanced manufacturing capabilities for CNC machining. And we'll be sending out more information about these particular extensions in October of this year. It also includes access to Fusion 360 Team, which is a phenomenal tool for collaboration across your company. You'll continue to have access to pay-as-you-need-it functionality, such as generative design, simulation, and rendering on the cloud, as well as access to HSM Works for extra CAM programming. So you can see this new Fusion 360 with PowerMill Standard offering includes a whole load of extra capability. Now, the second offering, Fusion 360 with PowerMill Ultimate, includes PowerMill Ultimate, obviously, Fusion 360 Core, Fusion 360's machining extension, and a new additive build extension, both of which you'll hear more about in October of this year. We also include Fusion 360 Team for that amazing collaboration capability, those pay-as-you-need-it accesses to generative design, simulation, and rendering, and access to HSM Works at the same time. So you can see that both of these two new offerings include a whole load of extra technology to give you access to this leading edge capability to give your business that competitive edge. But what does this mean for you? Well, the answer really depends on the version of PowerMill that you're using today and whether you're a subscriber or whether you're maintaining perpetual license. Now, if you're a single user subscriber to PowerMill Standard, you'll be migrated to the new Fusion 360 with PowerMill Standard offering. This will give you access to more technology at the equivalent price that you would normally pay for a PowerMill Standard subscription. So you receive more technology, but at the same price that you've normally been paying. Now, if you're a single user subscriber to PowerMill Premium, you'll be migrated to the new Fusion 360 with PowerMill's Ultimate offering. This will give you the very best level of technology within PowerMill, but at the equivalent price of a PowerMill Premium subscription. Yep, you heard me right. This Fusion 360 with PowerMill Ultimate subscription is at the equivalent price of a PowerMill Premium subscription in the past. So for you, you will be receiving more technology at the same price that you've been used to receiving. Now, finally, if you're a single user subscriber to PowerMill Ultimate today, you'll be migrated to the new Fusion 360 with PowerMill Ultimate offering. So this will give you the same level of technology that you've been used to using in PowerMill, but at the lower equivalent price of an old PowerMill Premium subscription. So you'll be getting more tech at a lower price point. How fantastic is that? Now, note these changes are specifically for single user subscribers, but there are changes that are affecting multi-user subscribers as well. Now, these are different, and so you should watch out for information from Autodesk to tell you more about the transition to a named user trade-in special offer that will be running during this time. So watch out for more news, and if you want to learn more about that, you're more than welcome to reach out to your Autodesk sales representative and start that conversation. Now, what does this mean for customers that are still using maintained perpetual licenses, i.e. you've not yet moved to a subscription? Well, we will continue to offer special discounted pricing to allow you to make the move to subscriptions at a time that works for you. And hopefully you can see that we are making it even more appealing to make that move to subscription by offering more capabilities at more competitive price points. So starting from the 14th of September of this year, single user maintained customers can choose to move to the new Fusion 360 with PowerMill offerings. Now, if you're a PowerMill Premium user today, you will be able to upgrade to the new Fusion 360 with PowerMill Ultimate offering. More technology, lower price. And these will include those extra extensions that we mentioned earlier on. Remember, you'll learn more about those later in the year. So really now is a fantastic time to make that jump to subscription and get all of this new capability at an even more competitive price. Now, what do you need to do if you are keen to make that move? You want to update to these latest releases. So what you need to do really does depend on whether you're a PowerMill Premium user or not. If you're a subscriber to PowerMill Standard or PowerMill Ultimate today, your account administrator will need to log into your Autodesk account, log in with your business details, and then you'll see these new Fusion 360 with PowerMill subscriptions appearing in your account. Your account administrator will need to reassign those licenses to named accounts within your organization, and then they will be able to start using these new offerings. It's simple. However, if you are a PowerMill Premium user, then the steps that you need to take are slightly different. Here, your account administrator will need to log into the Autodesk account as before, reassign these new Fusion 360 with PowerMill Ultimate licenses to named users, and then those named users will need to download and install the new software. And this is because you're actually moving from a premium product to an ultimate product, and they are two different software products. So you need to download and install the ultimate version. Once you've done that, you'll be up and running and using the latest releases and the latest versions. Okay, so we can see PowerMill is becoming more closely linked with Fusion 360. So I thought it would now be a great opportunity to have a quick recap of what's new in Fusion 360 for CAM users, but also take a look at some of the functionality that we're working on for the future. And we'll start with a very quick recap of some of the major CAM improvements that we included in Fusion 360 in the recent months. So one of the biggest improvements saw the introduction of a new Fusion 360 manufacturing extension. Now this provides Fusion 360 users with an easy way to access enhanced manufacturing technology on a pay-as-you-need-it basis. So these extensions can be accessed using a separate subscription, be it monthly or annual. So this is a very flexible way for our customers, you guys, to access amazing technology when their business needs go up, but maybe ease off on that access when business needs lower down. So you've got the flexibility to grow and contract your your Fusion 360 capabilities in line with your business pressures and your business needs. So the extension offered functionality such as additive manufacturing, new fused filament fabrication capabilities, improved automatic programming for hole drilling, new steep and shallow strategies for automatic creation of toolpaths that originated from PowerMill that produce a single toolpath to machine very complex organic 3D shapes. We included probe geometry to allow you to define probe assemblies that will be used during in-cycle measurement or on-machine verification, and correspondingly surface inspection strategies inside Fusion 360 to allow you to carry out in-cycle measurements of 3D shapes during the machining process. So both those options originated from our PowerInspect software. We're about to include a new manual inspection operation, you'll see more of this later on, to allow you to define analog checks, so deburr checks, form of fit checks, dimensional checks that are not necessarily using a spindle mounted probe to measure the part. We also included 4-axis rotary machining, strategies that originated from PowerMill and have now been plumbed into the Fusion 360 manufacturing extension, as well as other PowerMill based strategies such as 5-axis toolpath controls, automatic collision avoidance, and those powerful toolpath modification tools, so the ability to limit toolpaths to sketched polygons. And these are areas that continue to improve and evolve and will get better and better with future releases of Fusion 360. Okay, so we've covered very quickly some of the enhancements that we've seen in Fusion 360 in recent months, but what's coming? So let's take a sneak peek at what the Fusion 360 developers are working on currently. So the first thing we'll talk about is this new in-process stock option. Now, this is a phenomenal way of visualizing the state of a workpiece at any point in the machining process. And you can see the video shows this really nicely. So as we activate a toolpath, we can see this 3D representation of what the stock would look like after that toolpath had been run. Now, this automatically caches in the background, so there's no additional work needed by you. You just need to activate the display of the in-process stock. Now, we initially released this under preview in June 2020. Phenomenal feedback from our users, and we're very excited to push this out into a release very, very soon. Now, what's really nice about this is that if you choose to simulate a toolpath, you can actually have your stock simulation match the in-process stock view that we've just talked about. So it avoids you having to simulate all of your earlier toolpaths to get to the point that you're interested in simulating. So again, that's going to shorten the amount of time that you need to spend in Fusion validating that your toolpaths are correct. The second thing that we're working on is improved feature selection. Now, this allows your best practice machining processes to be embedded into Fusion 360 and then shared amongst your teammates, allowing you to define these templates with different feeds, speeds, and other strategy parameters to improve how you and your teams can automatically program parts and identify features within those parts and use those predefined templates, if you like, to machine those features. We've also improved the tool library functionality within Fusion 360 in a number of different ways. So the first of all, we've improved the user interface. So we've included new tools to allow you to filter tools more efficiently, search for tools more efficiently. So it's just a more pleasant user experience. We've also improved the support of turning tools. So you'll see that there's more turning tool definition capability within here. And then finally, we've included the ability to define multiple cutting parameters per tool based on different machining strategies. So instead of just having one set of cutting parameters for a tool, you can have multiples. Just makes it a far more powerful tool library. We continue to work on improving the automation tools of Fusion 360 as well. Now here we can see an example of Fusion's ability to recognize holes in models and create efficient drilling cycles using predefined templates. Now, this hole recognition is capable of analyzing simple holes using basic dimensions, but it's also capable of identifying more complex compound holes using the profile of the hole itself. So again, this really will simplify the programming of those very repetitive, laborious hole drilling cycles, saving you time and money. We've also improved the 5-axis programming capabilities of Fusion 360 with some more tools that have originated from PowerMill. Now, this video shows development work that allows the 5-axis orientation of the cutting tool to be defined interactively. So you can see in a moment that we'll be able to display an XYZ coordinate system. You can see that appearing on screen now. And then dynamic drag handles can be used to drag the cutting tool into a different rotated position, allowing you to optimize the rotation of the machine tool to machine undercuts more easily, explore using shorter, more rigid cutting tool assemblies, just basically improve the way you machine with your 5-axis machine capabilities. So this is great for 3+1, great for 3+2 machining, as well as 5-axis machining more broadly. Another powerful feature, and one that originated from PowerMill, again, is the ability to make localized edits to a toolpath after calculation has been completed. So this video shows a toolpath that's been processed, and now we're selecting individual parts of the toolpath and deleting them. Without having to spend time recalculating the whole toolpath again, we're just removing the bits that we don't want. So this is a phenomenal tool and something that really does make PowerMill stand out in the CAM marketplace, and it's now made its way into Fusion 360 as well. And then finally, one of my personal highlights. This video shows work being undertaken to simulate actual machine motion. So crucially, the simulation uses the same post-processor engine as will be used when you export the actual G-code to your machines, meaning that what you see is what you get in the machine tool. Now, this allows machine motion to be visualized and verified. It doesn't yet check for collisions and identify them, but we're working on that. Now, additional display options are available to allow you to show the XYZ, ABC positions of the cutting tool, as well as displaying whereabouts in the timeline the machine simulation is playing by using dynamic drag handles. And you can see in the video now, not only are we dragging the machine around, but we can see the XYZ position and any other notification, any other information that needs to be displayed. So machine simulation, I'm sure you agree, is a really exciting development to see coming in to Fusion 360. We've also introduced the ability to create probe assemblies and surface inspection routines into Fusion 360. This is something we did last year, but the team has been working to take that one stage further. Now, this video shows expanding the functionality to support part alignment during machining setup. So here we can see a part alignment being defined and then a series of points being tagged for probing purposes. Here, we've chosen to measure against the machine stock from the previous machining operation. Now, once those probe paths have been defined and the NC program has been output to the machine, it can be run. The machine then generates a series of measurement points as a text file, and that text file can then be re-imported back into the Fusion 360 program. Now, crucially, Fusion 360 will then display the measurements as a series of color-coded markers. So they'll be able to identify errors, and you'll see those appear in a moment. So here you can see we're selecting the measurement file, and then after a brief delay, you can see them appearing in Fusion 360. Now, what's interesting is that we can now apply best fit algorithms to calculate how misaligned the stock is relative to the CAD data that we're looking to work to. And that best fit can then be export is effectively a datum shift to allow the subsequent machining operations to be realigned to the actual machine stock that's on the machine tool. So this saves huge amounts of time and avoids a lot of human error when you start moving a component from one machining setup to another. I mentioned earlier on the introduction of a manual inspection operation in Fusion 360. This is another thing that I'm pleased to show you today. Now, this is ideally used in collaboration with manual inspection tools like calipers, height gauges, as well as Bluetooth-enabled devices. And you can use this functionality to carry out visual checks like deburrs, as well as dimensional checks. What size is that hole? How wide is that slot? How deep is that feature? As well as fit and function checks like plug gauges. Does this plug gauge fit into this hole? All of these instructions can then be output to the machine shop floor and used to give your shop floor users guidance to allow them to carry out these checks as part of the manufacturing process. Combine those checks with the traditional CNC surface inspection routines that we've mentioned earlier on, and you'll be able to generate a complete full inspection report that shows the quality of this component, both in terms of its dimensional accuracy as well as its visual appearance. Now, there's a whole load of other things that we're working on in Fusion 360 now. I don't have time to cover them all, but a few other highlights include better ways to set up, store, and share templates across your team. So improving the structure of those templates to make them better organized, easy to use, and more powerful. You've already seen some of the work that we're doing to improve the selection of geometry in Fusion 360. So we're working on this to make this even more automatic, to reduce the amount of programming time and effort required to program simple parts. We're also working to include more 5-axis programming capabilities for more 3D strategies. Now, these are the appropriate strategies where you might choose to run them in a 5-axis mode. So this is initially going to be limited to ball nose or hemispherical cutting tools, but who knows in future how this might evolve. We're also continuing to improve the quality of our toolpaths to make them smoother. And this is using things like more even point spacing within the toolpath itself, which is ideally suited to running on older machines where randomly distributed points can result in a very jerky machine motion. We also continue to work on making NC programs the primary workflow within Fusion 360, as well as improving the turning capabilities in Fusion 360 by including more capabilities from products like FeatureCAM and PartMaker. So hopefully you can see we really are focused on continuing to put even more advanced manufacturing capabilities into Fusion 360 CAM capabilities. Now, I just want to move tack slightly now and maybe give you a quick reminder of our vision. What is the future long-term vision of Autodesk CAM software and services? Now, I think if you take a step back and look at the CAM products that we're talking about today, so we've talked about PowerMill, PowerShape, PowerInspect, Fusion 360, it's safe to say that we've got some amazing technical capabilities such as generative design, topology optimization, simulation, analysis, additive manufacturing, modeling for manufacture, CAM, obviously we spent a lot of time talking about that today, metrology and composites and general fabrication. So we have a broad range of capabilities, but these capabilities are served through a variety of different products. So we're looking at Moldflow, we're looking at PowerShape, PowerMill, FeatureCAM, PowerInspect, lots of individual products. And these products are fantastic at doing what they do. But we have a vision to try and combine all of these capabilities into a single platform. And that platform, you will not be surprised to hear, is Fusion 360. Now, we have published recently our vision of the future of CAM, specifically through the Fusion 360 platform. And I wanted to just make you aware of the fact that we've published this roadmap because we want to be transparent. We have a vision of giving you a single platform to allow you to access all of this amazing technology in a single environment and not have to jump between different products. And so our vision is to enable you to do more of what you do today and evolve your businesses through this amazing platform. And so we continue to evolve functionality in Fusion 360, not just in CAM, but in its broader design and manufacturing capabilities. So things like the ability to do edit in place for complex assemblies. So don't dive into the individual assembly subcomponent and edit it within the assembly space. It's just a far more intuitive user experience. We've included electronics design functionality inside Fusion 360 as well, which is a major game changer for those of you that are working with electronics products. We've included more advanced simulation capabilities inside Fusion 360, so thermal-based analysis for electronics to make sure that you've got heat sinks configured correctly. We've continued to evolve our generative design functionality in Fusion, specifically including cost-based outputs. So using our relationship with a priori, we can look at the cost impact of different methods of manufacturing different generatively designed parts, allowing you to make more cost-based decisions to allow you to access better performing products, but at a better price point. We continue to evolve simple things like sketching tools inside Fusion 360 and allow you to create more powerful, intuitive drawings as well. And clearly, we continue to focus on advanced subtractive and additive manufacturing capabilities, many of which we've already talked about today. The key thing here is that we continue to focus on the three key pillars, those being to mature the core functionality that already exists in Fusion 360, to continue to deliver advanced capabilities in Fusion 360 to allow you to develop more powerful products, whilst continuing to push the boundaries of what is technologically possible with the Fusion 360 product, if innovating new technologies such as generative design and others to give you a real competitive edge in your marketplace. And so whether it be CAM automation from Feature CAM, advanced turning functionality and multitasking from PartMaker, metrology and reporting functionality that originated from PowerInspect, expert 3 and 5 axis CAM capabilities inspired by PowerMill, fabrication and nesting functionality that originated from our TrueX products, shop floor management tools that are inspired by our Fusion production tools, or better integrated CAD and CAM tools inspired by Fusion 360 and Inventor. The key thing here is that we have a vision to deliver all of this and more through the Fusion 360 platform. And with that, I will bring our presentation to a close. So thank you very much for your time today. I really do appreciate you joining us. I hope that you've been inspired to take action, to start using these new products, both PowerMill 2021 and your new Fusion 360 with PowerMill Entitlement. And with that, we'll end the presentation and hand over to a live Q&A session.